Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
In that final drive, 8 seconds left. The ball's thrown short to Conklin, who runs out of bounds. It takes like 5 seconds off the clock. Is that a play where you're...
We were just trying to get a little closer to throw the Hail Mary.
Oh, my God. Dude, I'm going to pop off right now. I need to restrain myself from it.
I don't even think Mike really believes that. I think that's him trying to defend
Dude, are you serious?
Kubiak and Kirk Cousins. Don't you? I think he's in self-preservation mode, so he's not going to go off. Not yet, at least.
Kirk had a similar thought that we'll play later. Well, this is a special, actually live edition of Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company. We had some technical issues earlier, and we said, bleep it, let's do it live. Bleep it.
We'll do it live.
Bill O'Reilly once famously said in the 90s. Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad, our executive producer, Declan Goff. This is Daily Vikings entertainment, or in this case, therapy and venting. If you want the full Vikings Vent Line episode, it was something fierce yesterday, and you can find it almost 2 hours of just venting and therapy, I guess. So check that out on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and podcast feed. If you guys are watching us on a TCL TV, perhaps, we thank you for that. You're supporting the show, supporting one of our sponsors, and TCL is offering a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. All right, it's Pie Chart Monday, boys. When the Vikings win, which is once so far in 7 preseason and regular season games, we do the Pie Chart of Praise. But when they lose...
Now on Mackey and Judd.
This chart makes it as clear as I can to you.
The Pie Chart of Blame.
You want to blame somebody?
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
Judd Zulgad, grab a knife, slice up some pie chart of blame. You go first.
5 slices of pie.
On the clock.
On the clock.
By the way, don't rush through this.
I feel
like today's pie charts need to be meticulously...
No, you know what we're doing? Right now, we're slowing it down.
We are wasting time.
We got time.
Let's huddle up. We got plenty of time. There's 2.5 minutes left. Let's huddle up.
We got time.
Let's huddle up. It'll be great.
We're trying to get closer to the end zone. We're trying to get closer to the end zone.
I want to leave you guys with no time left to beat me on my pie chart, so I'm just going to extend this till it's triple zeros on the clock. All right, starting at the bottom. 3%. Small little sliver. You like that? Piece of pie goes to Kirk Cousins. Just once. I want the final drive I want my quarterback to take the final drive of a game when you got a chance to tie or win by the you-know-whats and just take control and not check it down. No. I want that last pass to Thielen to be a touchdown. Oh, my God, you're down by 1 now. Oh, and now you're tied because Greg Joseph surely makes the extra point, right? Kirk Cousins was 6 for 6 on the opening drive of this game, and then after that was 14 for 32. During the course of the Mackey and Judd program, I told you guys that on that last drive, Kirk Cousins, 3 of 9 for 28 yards, and 19 of those came on one play. So a 3% piece of pie. Just a teensy-weensy piece of pie goes to Kirk. Because just once, I want my quarterback to be like, no, today we don't lose.
Not today.
Today, I find a Greg Lewis in the back of the end zone.
I consider myself the clutchiest quarterback in the history of the world.
So, I'm not putting the loss on Kirk, but I am saying that last drive. I you know what?
Yeah.
I never thought they're going to score here. I thought this game's done. Okay, bigger piece of pie. Not the biggest, but a bigger piece of pie. 17% goes to the offensive line. Just one word for them. Woof. You were great. The offensive line against Seattle, damn good. And we talked about weeks 2 and 3. Hey, they've improved. Chandler Jones, no sacks. After he had 5 in week 1. We've talked about the offensive line and its strides. Well, there weren't a lot of strides on Sunday. Pass protection was awful. The pressure on Cousins was constant. The run blocking was not great. Cleveland's defense is good. Guess what? You're going to play good teams at home. 17% offensive line.
Yeah.
20% goes to a man whose show closed after a brief, outstanding start on Broadway. 20% goes to Clint Kubiak. The scripted plays, this bravo opening night, unbelievable, New York Times, 10 stars.
Oh, wait, we have to do this tomorrow night too?
And
the
then
next
after
night?
that, yeah. And then after that, they're like, everyone who was in the cast on opening night, there are now replacements for them. In the role now of the quarterback is a guy who's going to get skittish. The offensive line is going to become a bunch of Division III players. The script was great. What happened? What happened to the script?
We'll always have the first scripted offensive drive against the Browns. Never forget. Never forget.
The understudy sucked. 20% Clint Kubiak. Seriously. Touchdown. Oh, my God. Here we go. Hang on to your hats. Not so much. 20%. And this is like the second or third time I've done this during the course of the season, but I think it's deserved. 20% goes to Rick Spielman, GM of this team, who definitely had a big hand in either approving for or going out and pursuing Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson, who Dex tells me graded out really well in the PFF grades, but nonetheless, you didn't stop the run. You got gashed consistently in the run game, and those guys were signed to stop the run. I know that Pierce was playing hurt, but this is the fourth consecutive game where an opponent has gone over 100 yards. Seattle partially didn't go crazy because the Vikings did such a good job in that game of eating up clock that the Seahawks had a limited time of possession in the second half, but I think they were at 98 yards through the first half of that game. The offensive line, which is a direct result, by the way, of your decision to sign 2 defensive tackles, the offensive line was awful. So, I mean, there's a lot of things here that come back on personnel decisions made by the GM, right? I'm giving him 20%. You know, that loss, you got to beat good teams, buddy, and your team was in no position. And then finally, a 40% chunk of pie goes to head coach Mike Zimmer and his entire team. The Browns in your stadium, dominating time of possession, tried to hand you this game how many times? And you're like, no, we're good. No, Kevin, you take it. And Stefanski's like, no, Mike, I want you to have it. I love you. You help me. And he's like, no, Kevin, you're like a son to me. You take it. And it's like back and forth.
But Mike,
I love you.
We're going to win like 12 more of these. You need this win more than I do.
It was like a Star Wars where the mentor kills himself at the end to preserve the young guy.
Never happened once in Star Wars.
Okay, it sounds like Star Wars, though.
Wait, 2 things. What? First of all, spoiler alert. Second of all, have you
Han
ever
Solo
seen?
died.
Have you never? I finally watched Star Wars movies like a year ago for the first
Hell
time.
no, I've seen one. I saw the original
Star Wars
one.
references to me. Okay.
Yeah, Declan. Well, didn't Hans die? Han Solo died, right?
Judd's like, it's like the end of Rocky IV where the Russians take over America.
It's
Wait,
like
what?
it's like where the Russians hack Instagram and Facebook. Oh wait, that really might happen.
That might have happened.
I have an update on that in a second.
Yeah.
So just go
Anyway.
ahead,
Keep going.
Anyway,
it's not good.
It's not good.
40% for Zimmer and his entire team because you blew a game that was against a good team that tried to give you that game. 20% to Spielman, 20% to Kubiak. Your play closed after one drive. Offensive line, 17%, and a small piece for Kirk Cousins for a last drive that was just really, again, pathetic.
There it is. All right, Judd Zulgad comes in very
That's not
consistently
bad.
now. It's six and a half minutes on the pie
I'm
chart.
at 6 minutes, yeah.
We started keeping track because a few weeks ago, Judd went like 13 and a half minutes with his pie chart of blame.
On
I
a
think it was after
preseason game.
it was a
On a
preseason game.
game.
Yep. And then Declan started to time it, and then Phil's like, well, come on, we can still give our pie charts. And now it's just a battle royale of timing.
So there it is. That's the first pie
The
chart
Rock knows how
of
you feel
blame.
about pie.
I do have an update for you guys. So just in, hackers have stolen private information from over 1.5 billion Facebook accounts. And now they're selling, these hackers are selling that private user data on the dark web. So, Facebook and
change your
Instagram
passwords.
were hacked today. Might want to change your passwords. And I also want to shout out Federated Insurance. If your business is looking to minimize risks, maybe Mark Zuckerberg should give our friends at Federated a call here today. Federated has been helping with risk management for over 100 years. They're based in Owatonna. They are one of us, and you can find out how they can protect your bottom line and your employees at federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
All right. Strap in, boys. I've got four pieces
Get it
of
going,
pie,
Dex.
and I cannot promise that I will stay under 6.5 minutes here.
Nice.
I am worked the F up right now.
Love it.
All right.
TikTok.
All right, let's start with a 50% chunk of pie to what I think is the entire or main key to Vikings' repeated mediocrity and failure against good teams. 50% of this pie chart of blame to me is the Vikings' inability, the offense, the inability to overcome defensive pressure, okay? And so I'm putting multiple ingredients within this slice of pie. I'm putting the offensive line, I'm putting Kirk Cousins, I'm putting play calling and scheme, even front office philosophy, which I'll get to as well. So yesterday, the Vikings allowed 29 defensive pressures, according to Pro Football Focus. Rashad Hill, by the way, was the biggest culprit with 10. Oli Udoh allowed 8. In total, and a lot of those came like multiple on one play, so it wasn't like 29 different dropbacks, but it was 29 pressures over like 19 dropbacks. Kirk was pressured on exactly half of his 41 dropbacks, all right? When he was kept clean, he's basically the MVP. Like, this dude with a clean pocket for years has just been a sniper, a dart thrower. 74% completions, 8.5 yards per attempt. Comfortable Kirk, just sitting back there. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, just lasers all over the field, right?
You like that?
Well, that's not how the NFL works. You don't get to sit out there for 3 hours every week when you got guys like Myles Garrett, you got guys like Khalil Mack. Like, there's just a bunch of dudes, 260-pound machines that are looking to rip your helmet off, right? So when he was pressured, 32% completions, 2.5 yards per attempt. It was a train wreck. And by the way, that's a pretty wide gap. It's not quite as bad if you go back the last couple of years, but like the drop-off, and I'm not even going to just say Kirk. I'm going to say the Vikings passing game, because so many people, are you blaming Kirk? Well, he's part of the equation. Offensive line is part of the equation. Not moving the pocket schematically when you're seeing this happen is part of the equation. The Vikings have one of the biggest drop-offs in their passing game the last 2 or 3 years, according to PFF, according to passer rating, clean pocket versus pressure. So you can either try to prevent pressure more by having a better offensive line and investing more resources into it and not whiffing on guys like Garrett Bradbury, or you could find a quarterback that doesn't melt down as much when pressure hits, right? And so, but all quarterbacks, play more poorly when they're under pressure. Yeah, but like they don't look incompetent and overwhelmed all the time. And again, it's not all on Kirk. A lot of it's on Rashad Hill. A lot of it's on the front office for not finding the right players. But you can either find better offensive linemen and or find a quarterback that doesn't see such a significant drop-off between clean pocket and pressure. That was the game yesterday. The Vikings schemed up a nice little scripted first offensive drive. The Browns, with a smart coaching staff, came back and said, all right, nice job, Vikings. We're going to go and figure out a couple things here, how to get pressure, and we're going to come back at you, and there's never a counter to the counter. It's like the opposing team finds a way to get pressure, and they punch you in the mouth. The 49ers playoff game a couple years ago, right? Several games last year, and it's like the Vikings and Kirk Cousins and the offensive line have no ability to do anything positively when the opposing team gets pressure.
Absolutely.
So 50% is just the Vikings' offense inability to handle pressure. Close cousin to that piece of pie, I'm going to give 15% to Rick Spielman and the front office for enabling the Vikings' struggles against pressure. The offensive line depth is really non-existent. I mean, Rashad Hill has to play, right? Like, he is your first number one backup offensive lineman. He's the backup right tackle and left tackle, and he can't handle himself against good edge rushers. That dude was just worked like a drum by Myles Garrett yesterday. 10 pressures allowed. Oli Udoh has been a nice story to start the season, but he's still an experiment at right guard, right?
Yes.
And he allowed 8 or 9 pressures yesterday. And
Yep.
Garrett Bradbury, it's like we celebrate when he's just an average player for a week. It's like
He doesn't get pushed around.
Yeah,
oh my God, he didn't get pushed around.
He only allowed 5 pressures today. It wasn't so bad. So 15% to Spielman for enabling the Vikings' struggles against pressure. 20% to Mike Zimmer, who is now 17-41 in his head coaching career against teams that finish the season with winning records. And he was 17-39 going into the season. I'm putting the Cardinals and the Browns in the winning record category and projecting them. I am Steve Kornacki. I am John King.
Up here in Arizona, there's going to be a victory.
I am projecting the Cardinals and the Browns as finishing the season with a winning record. We'll see about Cincinnati and Seattle and where they fall in this. But that's 29% as a winning percentage against teams that finish the season with a winning record. In the Kirk Cousins era, that record is 5-21. So it's even worse percentage-wise. So that means going back to when they brought in Kirk Cousins, Kirk and Mike together as a defensive and offensive figurehead, right?
Yep.
Are 5-21 against teams that finish the season with a winning record. All of this research from our friend and loyal listener, Minnesota Researcher on Twitter. The best coaches are all 500 or better against winning teams. And there's a bunch of other guys that have been fired, like Bill O'Brien and Doug Peterson over the last 6 or 7 years that are better than Zimmer. Jason Garrett in that category. So this is the funny part. Since 2014, among coaches that have coached at least 3 seasons in the NFL, the 2 worst coaches against winning teams are Mike Zimmer and Jay Gruden. Both from the Bengals tree of incompetence, but also 2 guys that combined for 6+ seasons of Kirk Cousins as their starting quarterback. And so he's either the unluckiest quarterback of all time, or he plays a role in not being able to beat winning teams. And then my final chunk of pie here, and I'll have Dex hit a sound. Actually, let's play the sound bites back to back, because that Zimmer one you played and the Cousins one. 15% to terminally flawed late game and late half decision making. All right. This is Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins explaining, okay, with 8 seconds to go and no timeouts, needing a touchdown to tie from the 32-yard line, why are you throwing a check down to Tyler Conklin to get like 5 extra yards? Does the 5 extra yards from the 32-yard line to like the 27-yard line drastically impact your shot into the end zone? Or wouldn't you rather just take 2 shots into the end zone? Let's hear from the coach and the quarterback.
In that final drive, 8 seconds left, the ball's thrown short to Conklin, who runs out of bounds. It takes like 5 seconds off the clock. Is that a play where you're...
We were just trying to get a little closer to throw the Hail Mary.
And here's the quarterback.
I think it comes down a little bit to just how much time do you have from a pass rush standpoint. How are they playing in terms of how aggressive are they and how soft are they? And, you can't turn the ball over, otherwise you don't have that chance at the end. So you're better off taking as many yards as they'll give you to get yourself into a realistic throw at the end where, it'd have to go to the end zone.
Dude, my head's going to literally explode here live on Purple Daily. So they both referred to the Hail Mary or the final shot as if like everything was a build-up to 3 seconds left and 1 shot. No, it's not. Once you get inside like the 40-yard line, you got they actually had 12 seconds left when Thielen caught that pass and they called the timeout. So with 12 seconds left, you for sure have time for 2 shots into the end zone, maybe a third. Now, if you throw a pass like the first pass with 12 seconds left, that was an outbreaking route that would have brought them inside the 10 had it been complete. All right, like there's a big difference between like the 32-yard line and the 10. But a check down that gets you 5 yards is a worthless play in that situation. Anybody with any sense for like game theory and late game strategy, coordinator, head coach, quarterback, doesn't throw that check down. They just throw a pass in the end zone. And then you might say, well, Kirk was referring to the pressure on that play. He didn't have time on that check down. He checked it down because he was forced to. I don't have the screenshot here to put up on our YouTube channel, but if you go to my Twitter account, I do. And I swear to God, I even like contacted some friends with all 22 film in the industry so I could say, I want to see, was there pressure that forced him to check this down? I watched this play at like 5 in the morning. I woke up just like irrationally annoyed by this loss to the Browns. He was pressured on a lot of plays in that game. He was not pressured on that play. There was a lot of coverage because the Browns are playing prevent defense and they're trying to prevent you from, scoring a touchdown on that play.
Yes,
but he's talking about, well, you don't want to throw an interception. Dude, the game is over. Like, an interception doesn't matter in that spot. Yep. We will all forgive you if you throw an interception in that spot. And I'm making a big deal out of this because, there's a lot of other reasons why they lost the game. But so many games are won and lost inside 2 minutes, inside 30 seconds, right? And when your coach and your coordinator and your quarterback are all thinking, well, we only get the one shot into the end zone, so we need to throw checkdowns until we get there, that's flawed thinking. Of course the Vikings lose and are bad late in halves and late in games because they don't think about the way to maximize your strategy. The risk isn't throwing an interception. The risk is not throwing a ball into the end zone a second time to maximize your chances to score and tie the game.
But Kirk has shown a willingness on that exact drive to check down almost every time he runs it. So,
I don't want to throw an interception. No, you need to score a touchdown.
And the reason why I'm calling BS on what both Mike and Kirk said is to go back to the ball that Kirk, I think, in the fourth quarter threw on first down that was picked off the deep pass for Thielen, where he acknowledged we had to take a chance. We had to get something going. Yeah. When is it more important to get something going than when you're down by 7 and time is running out? That's what doesn't work.
How does the completed pass to Conklin, let's say you go from the 32 to the 26 or whatever it is.
Yes.
How does that, wouldn't you rather, and I'm asking rhetorical questions here, let's say it's a 10% chance to complete a pass in the end zone from 30 yards out, right? I'd rather run that 10% chance twice than have a slightly incremental better chance, 12% on one play. But they were both thinking, well, we only get one Hail Mary. And you brought this up on Mackey and Judd. Actually, if you've got time for 2 plays and people are complaining about Adam Thielen getting accosted in the end zone, refs never call that on the last play of the game. But if it's the second to last play of the game,
and it's going to be back-to-back shots, right?
They might call a penalty in the end zone and put the ball at the 1 yard line, and now you got time to run a play from the 1 yard line. But they don't think about this.
But the other thing too is this: let's define a Hail Mary pass, okay? 50-yard line, Hail Mary pass.
Yeah.
40-yard line,
Hail Mary.
I'll give you Hail Mary. What you do about the 30? That's a pass that should be sort of at least a really decent percentage. That's not a Hail Mary. Yeah. You don't launch. A Hail Mary is literally dropping back and launching the football and saying, Hail Mary full of grace. Mm-hmm. So when you have the ability to drive the ball into the end zone for an intended target, a Hail Mary very rarely actually has one intended target. So that wasn't a Hail Mary pass. They had actually put themselves in position to take 2 shots that would have been decent shots, or should be.
Yep. I also see a lot of people, for whatever reason, there's still people running to the defense of Zimmer and Cousins. Say it's no, this is a day to just vent and tee off. Okay, at least that's how I look at it. And some people bringing up, Hall of Famer Brett Favre. If you go look at the end of that 49ers game, the pass to Greg Lewis. Brett Favre the Vikings were at the 40, and then Brett Favre threw a check down to get it to the 32 or something like that. It was actually a very similar spot on the field. Mm-hmm. The biggest difference there is, first of all, when you're at the 40 compared to the 30, that's actually a pretty huge distinction. The 40 is a Hail Mary. The 30 is a long pass, but it's that extra 10 yards gives you some more options.
Correct.
So, number one, there's a huge difference between that and where the Vikings were yesterday. And number two, that check down came with, I believe, 16 seconds left on the clock. Brett threw the Hail Mary pass with another play in his back pocket. So if that pass to Lewis wasn't complete, and I think it would have been 4th down then, Brett still would have had a second chance to throw a ball into the end zone. But they struck gold on the first one. The Vikings didn't even give themselves a second throw into the end zone because they checked down with 8 seconds left. And I know that I'm overblowing a small part of this game, but it's a microcosm of why the Vikings don't fare better in late game and late half situations under Zimmer and under Kirk Cousins. What did I clock in at?
That was Brett Favre.
14.
Oh, 14. Oh, man.
Oh,
delay a game.
I'm sorry.
Love it.
I'm so
14.
sorry. Love it.
No, that's a long, that's an impressive drive right there.
I'm sorry.
Why when I do it is it get
because
time?
He did it after a legitimate loss. You did it because of a preseason
I saw what was coming. Because I saw what was coming. I was forecasting the woes to come.
The woes. The woes.
All right, Declan.
All right.
Knows how you feel.
So hold on.
about
So
pie.
15% terminally flawed late game strategy, 15% Rick Spielman for enabling Viking struggles against pressure, 20% Mike Zimmer for never being able to beat good teams, and 50% to the Vikings' offensive inability to counter pressure in any way. There you go. Okay.
All right, I'll construct a little pie here. I'll try to pick up the crumbles and assemble a new one. I'm actually pretty in lockstep with Judd on my first few pieces of pie. Just 5%. I'll start at the bottom, work my way up like the gentleman I am. 5%. Just 5 to Kirk Cousins. Because he does deserve some blame for this. Baker Mayfield gifted you a chance to win this game. Baker had the yips. He looked like Chuck Knobloch trying to throw to first. It was awful. He could not hit anyone on target. And actually, if you watch those two games, you realize, hey, Kirk didn't play great, but Baker was obviously awful, right? But QBR-wise, ESPN's QBR metric, Baker Mayfield actually had a better QBR than Kirk Cousins did yesterday. Both of them terrible. 9.9 for Kirk, 15.6 for Baker. That's a 0 out of 100 scale. That's, awful and slightly more awful. But Kirk had an opportunity to still make up for everything that was happening on the field. Multiple times throughout the course of this game. Not just the Hail Mary, not just the final drive. The entire course of this game, the Vikings could have put a statement on, and they didn't. So 5% does go to Kirk Cousins. 15% to the sieve of the run defense that the Vikings have constructed. And yes, Dalvin Tomlinson's grading out nicely. That's been the case the last 2 weeks. He's had very nice PFF grades. I believe over the last 2 games for the Vikings, he's been the highest rated defensive individual player. But guess what? You're still allowing 180 yards on the ground. Does that fall on Dalvin Tomlinson? Maybe not, maybe a little bit. But at the end of the day, your defense cannot stop the run. It's terrible. And Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are probably the 2 best backs in the league. That offensive line for Cleveland, also maybe one of the best lines in the league. You had maybe your toughest test of the season against a running attack yesterday. But still, it's unacceptable. 15%. That's why they're able to chew so much clock. I go 20% to the offensive line. Kind of the similar story, but reverse for the run defense. You're going against Myles Garrett. Going against the Cleveland Browns defensive line that is damn good. When I'm watching Oli Udoh getting literally forklifted, I didn't know this was possible. Seeing Rashad Hill and Oli Udoh and everyone literally getting lifted off the ground and spine bustered like he's Triple H in the ring. Like, it was kind of comical. It was kind of comical watching the offensive line for the Vikings getting just manhandled by Cleveland. And because of that, Kirk didn't get a lot of time, pressured on 50% of his dropbacks, and the Vikings offense wasn't able to construct much. So yes, 5% to Kirk, but 20% more of the blame should be placed on that offensive line. And then my final chunk of pie, 60%. I haven't really blamed. I've mentioned that these two deserve blame. I haven't been as critical as Judd and his pie charts on it, but I'm going to loop them together. They're handcuffed at 60%, and it's Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman. Because I'm trying to figure out who is the blame here, because was it Zimmer that told Spielman, I need better defensive players? Was it Spielman saying, all right, Zimmer, here's your players, figure it out? I mean, for God's sakes, Patrick Peterson's a nice player, but he's not a game-changing player anymore. Yes, Dalvin Thompson's grading out nice, but he's really not helping you win more football games. Michael Pierce seems okay. It just doesn't seem like it was the best chance to spend a lot of money on your defensive side of the football when now your coach has clearly lost a touch or two. Rick Spielman isn't evaluating and being the wizard that he typically is. So I'm putting 60% of the pie on Zimmer and Spielman. So my final pie chart, 5% to Kirk Cousins, 15% to the run defense, 20% to the offensive line, 60% to Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman.
The Rock knows how you feel about
322.
pie.
There it is.
322.
Yeah.
Formative offense.
Dalvin
right there.
Tomlinson has been one of the highest graded players on the team through the first month, according to Pro Football Focus, and the run defense is still one of the 5 worst in the NFL.
Right.
It's kind of
so
amazing.
what's the payoff?
Well, they miss a lot of tackles. They're one of the
Right.
worst tackling teams in the NFL. I mean, that's a huge part of it. That's
Well,
probably all of
Tomlinson-
it, quite frankly.
so
They can't tackle.
Here's the weird thing. I'd love to know what PFF grades on for a position like the 3-tech or nose tackle, because what I see, and Phil, what never happened, and granted, Kevin and Pat were great, but when the Williams wall was at its zenith, if you ran through the A gap, you might have got a yard or two, but like you ran into a wall. Watch it now. It is 3 to 4 yards per pop or more. But I mean, that they push. I don't understand. Like, you're supposed to have these 2 mammoth men in the middle so that there's no push. So like if I rush against you, I might get a yard. Mm-hmm. But look at it now. It's consistently 3-4 yards. The guy comes out on the back end of that. That's what I don't get, and that's what the Williams wall did so well, and what I didn't expect these guys to be as good, but I certainly expected a huge step up, and I don't think that we've seen that. And that's what eats clock and leads to 3rd and 4, which I can convert.
The other thing, too, on the offensive line, the offensive line was terrible yesterday. I was watching some of that Dallas-Carolina game, though, especially like Dallas. I think Dallas, were they losing at halftime? They came out with like 3 touchdowns in the third quarter and kind of blew the doors open.
I think you're right.
And Carolina has an amazing defensive front. And they've played a weak schedule so far, and this was the first like pretty darn good team they played. But there were so many plays where Carolina would get pressure, and then Dak Prescott would move out of the way or run for 12 yards or keep a play alive. Kyler Murray, it's like the NFL is so different now than it was even when the Vikings signed Kirk Cousins to that initial contract like 4 years ago, right? Like think about all the joystick quarterbacks that have come into this league, and like if you're going to have a guy like Kirk who's not mobile and he's not good against pressure, then you better not be running out experiments and backups along your offensive line. You know?
I know.
And this is what this it's the same thing.
We keep talking about it, but it's so relevant. It's so relevant that they continue to act like, well, Kirk's paid a lot, so Kirk's going to be fine. No.
Yeah. But the other thing is the expectation, too. It's like people expect anytime there's any semblance of pressure in a game, people just blanket blame offensive line in the NFL. Well, offensive line was terrible. It's like, well, these defensive fronts are designed with machine-like humans to get 10, 15 pressures in a game and get a handful of sacks. Like, you're not going to play Myles Garrett and just stonewall him. You're not.
Sure. No,
he's going to terrorize you a little bit. How are you overcoming it? What are you doing schematically? How is your quarterback absorbing the pressure and getting the ball out quicker at times? Right? Like we have this imperfect expectation of what a passing game should look like. Watch games around the league. It's not going to be 3 hours of perfect protection. And if you need it that way, you probably shouldn't be making $35 million to a team's salary cap. I'm sorry.
And the difference between, I think, what we saw on Sunday against Cleveland and what we saw in week 2 against Chandler Jones and Arizona was Chandler Jones. J.J. Watt's still good, but he's not great. And Chandler Jones, they did a really good job of focusing on him after he had 5 sacks in week 1 and sort of slowing him down. The difference yesterday was Jadeveon Clowney. So like if they accounted for Garrett and did a good job, Jadeveon Clowney was free. And that's the problem. And I can't explain it. The only thing I can say is this team, when it's going well, certainly has offensive skill position guys who are great in the case of Jefferson. Thielen's damn good. KJ Osborn, Phil, that toe drag was gorgeous.
Beautiful.
He's amazing.
Like that's a big
He's a really
league.
Good,
Yes. And Kirk can make throws. And this team, like if this is the path, you got to be built around the path, offense. So that's where, again, I don't care how he grades out. That's where I don't get how you go out and say, Dalvin Tomlinson. That's our one big signing. Because I will give them a pass. Patrick Peterson was signed in a second wave cheaper move. I have no problem there.
And Breland was too.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I mean, those were more garage sale type moves. But the Tomlinson one is the one where you say you really didn't invest. And you know, as good as Udo played in training camp, and until Sunday's game, I thought that he's actually been solid. But you're right, Phil. He's still an experiment there.
We still have to get to silver linings here and a Judd rant. But let's shout out one of our partners, Moon Motorsports, celebrating 50 years as a family-owned and operated multi-line power sports dealer in Monticello, the most exciting power sports showroom in Minnesota. It's just off 94 in Monticello. One-stop shop for sales, service, and parts. And don't miss out on securing a spot for winter storage as well. They'll take care of your motorcycle as riding season comes to a close in the safe and secure storage facility. And they are your Honda, Polaris, Can-Am, BMW, Triumph, etc. leader in the Twin Cities when it comes to motorsports. Moon Motorsports is the place, moonmotorsports.com. All right, let's take one trip around the room here. Silver linings after just an absolute kick you in the groin loss to the Browns yesterday.
I'll start with KJ Osborn because that was mine. That literally
let's not all rush to start.
Yeah. That catch he made on the sideline, I mean, that's just a beautiful grab. And he's not just emerging as, I think at first, I know we had a big game in week 1, but I think a lot of people thought, just a nice third wide receiver. And, look, Thielen and Jefferson are obviously 1 and 2 and might be the best combo in the league. I think KJ Osborn's not just a nice third wide receiver. I think this dude's like a legit guy. And he's making big catch after big catch, coming up in big moments on third down. KJ Osborn's not just a nice depth guy. He's turning into a damn good wide receiver. I mean, Stephon Diggs was a 5th round pick. Took a while to get going, and then all of a sudden became one of the best receivers in the league. KJ Osborn might have a similar story, but so far through 4 games, I've been damn impressed with what he's been able to do. So I have KJ Osborn.
I'm going to go with the guy that was inserted after the first series at cornerback, and I think deserves to start. And I know that he definitely has to mature, and he's going to get beat at times. Cam Dantzler. Cam Dantzler stepped in, I thought, and played really well.
He did.
And Bashad Breeland, I'm sorry, I'm just done there. Like, I've seen enough. It's not, I don't know if he's just cooked or what's wrong there. There's a chance he does not fit into the scheme because we know for a fact that Zim likes to have complex schemes for his corners. Pat P probably is fine there. Breeland is not fine. Cam Dantzler, 3rd round pick. Played pretty well for a guy who was forced to start 10 games last year. Of the 11 games in which he played, I like what he brought. I would expect that he will start again on Sunday against Detroit. It's a silver lining, Cameron Dantzler.
All right. I'll give you another one on defense, actually. I mean, I'll give you a couple little, defensive bullet points here. So the defense has only allowed 14 points in its last 3 halves of football. Second half against the Seahawks, and then 14 points. That was a shutout, and then 14 points yesterday. So the last 3 halves of football, they've however they've been flawed against the run. There's definitely been some leaks in the last 2 minutes because 11 of the points came in the last 2 minutes of the first half, right? But ultimately, holding opponents to 14 points over 3 halves of football is pretty darn good. And Danielle Hunter, we wake up this morning, and Danielle Hunter is he is 2 pressures behind the 3 guys who are tied for the league lead, including Myles Garrett. He's got 23 pressures in 4 games. Myles Garrett has 25. Mm-hmm. And Danielle Hunter has 5 sacks in those 4 games. He's back. He's incredible. Mm-hmm. So bravo to those aspects of the Vikings defense, I guess.
His ability to chase quarterbacks all over the field is incredible.
Yeah.
He goes from right to left, and it's like, how is this guy so damn fast? Yeah, he is off the charts athletically gifted.
Another silver lining, the Lions at home. It's the easiest game on paper on your schedule. And it's
Give me some Man Campbell. Give me some Man Campbell.
All right.
Thanks.
I'll give you some Man Campbell.
Dan Campbell doesn't just like football. Dan Campbell loves football.
We're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right? And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing. All right, that's going to be the mentality.
Football! Football, yeah! Football! Football!
Yeah, there you go.
This is Lions week. I want more Man Campbell sound, too. Like this week, I'd love some stuff.
Yeah, let's Dex, can we get Jason on that?
Yes, sir.
Our wonderful assistant producer on this show.
Vikings comments from Man Campbell.
Definitely. All right, Judd, every week on Mondays, I mistakenly tried to sort of lump this in with another segment last week. It deserves its own space, and that's on me. Mm-hmm. So, Surly, Judd, you must be furious.
Brought to you by our friends at Surly Brewing, and here is why. There's a lot, but by the way, I had to parse through this one to get something because there were so many things to be furious about. But this one is it. So the Vikings have given up, as I talked about before, more than 100 yards rushing in all 4 games this year. They gave up a season-high 184 to the Browns on Sunday, and they are spending a combined $84 million on Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson. All due respect to PFF buzz-off, I don't care what Tomlinson's grading out as. And yet, yesterday, Mike Zimmer has the audacity to say he isn't discouraged about his run defense and thinks we are all too fixated on, quote, the stats and, quote, not how things are when it comes to the defense. What in the hell is he talking about? I don't care you gave up 7 points. The Browns dominated time of possession. They also converted on 3rd and 20. We would have laughed at the Vikings for this. They handed the ball off to Kareem Hunt late in the first half on 3rd and 20, and he got 33 yards to set up a field goal. The last time I checked, those accounted for points and were the result of poor run defense and were reason to be disappointed. Stop gaslighting us, Mike Zimmer.
There it is. Judge Zolgad,
Stop
surly.
gaslighting us.
You must be furious. It is a little weird. It's a different tone than he normally would strike with a lot of these things this year. It's a little bit of a job preservation tone. Like, hey, I know a good football team. Hey, Urban Meyer and Mike Zimmer both like, I know a good football team.
Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer.
He had to apologize for that viral photo that went around the weekend.
I didn't realize he let the team fly home to Jacksonville and stayed in Ohio and went to the bar he owns, and that's where he got in trouble.
Okay, who was that woman? Was it his wife or was it?
No,
just
it's a friend. No, it was a group. She was in a group, and he
is
claimed.
He married or is it?
Yeah,
he's married.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
and
okay.
he said my wife is not happy. Can't imagine why.
He was getting a little grabby.
You know what he is? He's Bobby Petrino too. He's going to leave a message on the stalls of Jacksonville players saying peace out.
Yeah, I could definitely
He
see
is.
that
He's Petrino. He's greasy, slime ballish.
He's a gutless bee, as Mike Zimmer called Petrino.
Petrino, yeah.
Yeah, gutless bee.
Yep.
Yeah,
and he'll be the
excellent.
coach of the USC Trojans.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there's another round of Vikings therapy for you guys.
Don't gaslight us, Mike.
No.
That goes in all aspects of life.
We
Don't
just want the
gaslight
Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. That's our mission statement on this show. Take a step in that direction by beating the Lions next week.
That'd be nice.
Wouldn't be a very big step. But
That's going to be great. I'm going to feel real good after beating the Lions.
So, all right. Thanks for hanging out with us on this special live edition of Purple Daily presented by Surly. Also, Minnesota Lottery, too. They got these Vikings scratch game tickets. If you want to win some money because the Vikings aren't winning you games, there's a $5 ticket that can win you $100,000 and a $2 ticket that can win you $15,000. Bonus prizes like Vikings tickets. So, just say I'm in to Viking scratch game tickets from the Minnesota Lottery. Must be 18 or older to play. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Alex Boone tomorrow and Realistic Randy, Purple After Dark tomorrow.